be starting the council meeting today.
Roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, November 20th, 2024. Council members Flores, Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, and Witherspoon.
Tonight, I would like to keep our city controller, Teresa, and her family in our thoughts as she just lost her father. I would like to give everyone a moment of silence. And then we will follow with the Pledge of Allegiance.
If I may interrupt, it's also a former council person here, Jim Onarski's father-in-law, same, Frank Burney. Great guy, 93 years old, and I think he could probably still beat me up if he was still here. Quite a man. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now we will follow with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a motion to accept the minutes from the Wednesday, November 6th City Council meeting and bills for payment on November 22nd, the 27th, or the 29th, 2024. Members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores.
Just speak up, Larry.
I don't have a volume.
Are they turning it up?
Thank you.
All right, tonight we have planned for the director, Jackie Spry, to make a presentation. I don't see her in the audience. Is she here today?
Maybe we could get started when she gets here.
All right, so we'll move on. Is there anyone here to speak on a repository sale? Is there anyone here to speak on a repository sale? I'm hearing and seeing none. Is there anyone here to speak on a repository sale? Alrighty, we'll move on. I would ask the media to please line up on the left aisle facing the stage and citizens to line up on the right aisle to avoid confusion. I would like to ask that the public clearly state your name and the municipality. For the record, you have 5 minutes to be heard, and we will start with a presentation for speakers for safe and affordable housing is a human right, not an option. You may come forward.
Good evening, members of the City Council and everyone present. My name is Terry.
My name's Matthew.
We are senior social work students from Mercyhurst University, and this semester we have focused on a pressing social justice issue, housing disparities in Erie. Our city includes one of the poorest zip codes in the nation, where many families face a daily struggle to secure safe and affordable housing. Housing is not just a basic need, it is a cornerstone of dignity, health, and stability. Yet, far too many Erie residents, this cornerstone is crumbling. Imagine a family dreaming of a secure, warm home and stable place to grow and thrive. Now, imagine that dream overshadowed by unsafe structures, leaky roofs, and lack of heat in the winter. Sadly, this is the harsh reality for too many families who continue paying rent for homes that are unfit to live in. Let us consider the statistics. 1,432 Erie County citizens are unhoused, with a majority within the city of Erie. 21,700 individuals in Erie live in extreme poverty. Erie has only 1,100 affordable housing units, according to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. 24.3% of our population lives below the poverty line, nearly double the national average of 12.5%. People of color, who make up 20% of Erie's rental occupants, face higher rents, fewer affordable housing options, and greater housing discrimination than their white counterparts. These numbers reveal a housing crisis that not only affects the present, but perpetuates generational poverty. It is particularly alarming for young people of color aged 18 to 35, who face increased risks of homelessness and economic instability due to racial discrimination, poverty, and limited housing options. Erie's Tenant Bill of Rights passed last year was a step in the right direction, but it has not gone far enough. Families remain trapped in unsafe homes, their health and wealth being jeopardized, while landlords face few repercussions.
That is why we strongly urge the Council to adopt the Erie Spiritual Coalition's proposed amendments to the Tenant Bill of Rights. These amendments will hold landlords accountable for unsafe housing conditions, enforce penalties for noncompliance, and ensure all housing meets minimum safety standards. One of the most impactful amendments is the introduction of the mandatory rent abatement. This will prevent landlords from collecting rent on uninhabitable properties until repairs are made. Families should not have to pay for unsafe living conditions that endanger their health and stability. We also propose practical solutions to address the housing crisis. 1, increase structure for code enforcement. This will equip inspectors with the necessary tools to promptly address violations and hold landlords accountable. Proactive housing inspections. This will identify and address unsafe conditions before tenants suffer. Strengthen tenant protections. This will prevent retaliation against tenants who report unsafe conditions. Require written justifications for lease non-renewals. This protects tenants from arbitrary evictions and ensures transparency. Making renters' rights more accessible. This ordinance is accessible and informs renters and landlords of their rights. As a council, you have the power to transform Erie into a city where housing is a right, not a privilege. Addressing this crisis sends a clear message. The well-being of Erie residents matters. Together, we can ensure families are no longer trapped in unsafe homes, forced to pay rent for conditions that harm their health and future. Thank you for your time and commitment. Together, we can build an Erie where everyone has a safe and dignified place to call their home. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on, Dave. We're going to take a pause and let Jackie do her presentation. There's going to be a pause in citizens to be heard so Jackie can do her presentation. And then citizens will start right after she's done. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. Good evening, Council. My name is Jackie Spry. I'm the Director of Planning and Neighborhood Resources for the City of Erie. Tonight, I have Jenny Easton here with me from Pashik MTR, who is one of 3 of our consultants working on the 12th Street Reimagined Plan. I know that you received this plan just a few days ago, so I don't expect that you've read it yet. But Jenny's here to present the findings, recommendations, implementation strategies for the plan. And the intent is to have you ask questions to us afterwards, and then hopefully bring it back to the Planning Commission next month and to Council next month for full adoption. So with that, Jenny, thank you.
Sure.
Get your presentation up and running.
Thank you, appreciate that. So tonight I'll provide a brief overview of the 12th Street Reimagined project, which developed on an expedited timeline earlier this year. Many of you have been involved at various stages of the process, and myself, the project team, the steering committee are deeply grateful for the time and the insight you shared, as well as your help spreading the word to community members and getting others involved. So we kicked the project off in February. The consultant team was led by WRA. They're a multidisciplinary engineering firm with traffic expertise, supported by my firm, Planning and Landscape Architects, Pashik MTR, and economic development experts at Fourth Economy. An expiring grant necessitated our 5-month project schedule, so we were conducting public and stakeholder engagement as we completed the background, market, and engineering research and field work. The project studied the West 12th Street corridor between the I-79 interchange and Walnut Street. That was identified as a core area within the comprehensive plan, Erie Refocused. It's a critical gateway to the city with the recent acquisition of closed industrial sites by the County Redevelopment Authority and some of the new developments proposed closer to downtown. A major purpose of the study was to examine opportunities for redevelopment and ways to make the corridor more inviting, more functional for new uses, and to ensure that the operation of the roadway would meet the current and future needs of all users. We had a project steering committee that met in February to help chart a course for the project and set expectations. That group met 3 more times as the recommendations started to take shape. So when we get the slides up, we can show you some of the engagement milestones. We had great turnout and good conversations about the type of investment and development people would like to see in the corridor, rooted in the market realities of what the area will realistically support post-COVID. There is a project landing page on the city's website where we posted surveys and documents as they developed along with updates. We conducted interviews with corridor business owners, developers, real estate professionals, representatives from advocacy groups, agencies like EMTA. We met with a group of Cathedral Prep students immediately after they had a volunteer trash pickup activity along 12th Street to tell us about their experience and their daily crossing of the road. In May, our public event was an evening meeting to bring the community up to speed on how the project was developing, solicit feedback on recommendations, mark up big maps. And finally, the Chamber hosted a meeting for corridor business owners, many of whom had been engaged with us throughout the process, to give them a chance to respond to how the recommendations were coming together before the draft plan was released. So the draft plan was ready and online for review and comment over the summer. We received lots of thoughtful comments from city staff, from planning commission members, from committee members, neighborhood groups, advocacy groups, business owners with property along the corridor, and residents. Comments from all those folks are reconciled in the latest edition that you received a few days ago. So in terms of what's in the plan, for transportation, our project engineers from the beginning recognized the role that 12th Street plays in the city and the regional transportation network. This carries more daily vehicle traffic volume than either 26th or 38th Streets. It is the major east-west route through the city. It carries a lot of trucks to interstate connections, as well as serving as a major arterial link to many city neighborhoods. So accordingly, the vision for 12th Street is as part of a complete corridor, meaning that there's a need for 12th Street to carry heavy traffic volumes with some efficiency, and that 10th Street is its primary active transportation counterpart to safely walk, bike, and use transit east-west. That said, we learned during this process that a lot of people cross 12th Street, and those crossings are dangerous and uncomfortable. Improving intersections for pedestrians is a critical priority. So in terms of recommendations, making those critical safety improvements for pedestrians at intersections, especially the highest priorities this project identified at Green Garden, Liberty, and Sherry, is a top-line recommendation. We are maintaining the lanes and lane widths of this road in recognition of the volume and the freight mix of traffic here. That was something that was really important to the corridor's business owners. That said, we're balancing that with a strong and well-demonstrated need for traffic calming interventions, where we can find ways to use design to change driver behavior, increase a sense of enclosure, a sense of space, establish this as a place where people walk and drivers need to be careful. So we have long-term, mid-term, and short-term recommendations. The short-term are the things that the city can achieve fairly easily and less expensively on its own. In the long term, where there are painted shoulders, you could work with PennDOT to see curb extensions, so widen the sidewalks in those areas to reclaim space where it's kind of no man's land as it stands now. The intersection improvements can be done kind of in coordination with PennDOT over the years, but there are some shorter term things that could be done, especially signal retiming almost immediately. So just a quick look, existing conditions, and then on the next slide, the same location, incorporating some of the improvements we've suggested. So finding ways to delineate this as more of a human-scaled public realm, so we're preserving the vehicle traffic capacity, but improving conditions for pedestrians in particular. This is the active transportation map. It builds upon Active Erie, the city's active transportation plan. So what we add here is a bike route connection along Green Garden to the Bayfront and to West 10th Street where there is a gap. And we talked to EMTA about establishing a bikeway trailhead at unused space at the Park and Ride. So maybe that's a location where people could drop a car off, take a bike into the city, would have some amenities, maybe a restroom, a bike pumping station, that kind of a thing. On the land use side, we discovered early on in the process that it would be important to reinforce and strengthen the area's industrial heritage. 12th Street, as the comprehensive plan says, is a place where things are made. So to somebody driving down the corridor, it may look as though many of the large, older industrial buildings are empty, some are deteriorating. Most of these, almost all of these are active. Money is being generated here, people are coming to work every day and producing things. So our economics research revealed uses that will pencil out here, things that are market viable, that won't compete with downtown or other business districts, and would add value for those who work here, who invest here, as well as people who live in nearby neighborhoods. Some more specific zoning rules and design guidelines can help raise the standard of future redevelopment. So in particular, I don't want to have anybody's eyes glaze over with the zoning stuff, but these recommendations are in there. So we took a look at the existing code and identified some changes, an overlay district perhaps, that could help raise the standard for the district. In particular, we want to call out, preserve, enhance architectural features that are characteristic of the area's heritage, historic quality. So of course, not every building along the corridor contributes to that aesthetic. But we thought Ironwork Square was a really nice example of pulling forward, modernizing, but respecting the architectural contributing features that make the corridor special. So of course, the land use zoning regulations look to support business use in the corridor, not to be too overly punitive, so we'll hold businesses accountable to a standard for code enforcement and make sure that that's achieved. But also look for opportunities to work with business owners and incentivize upkeep and upgrade of their facilities. We looked at a couple key sites just briefly. If there's a location along this corridor, along our project study area, to create more of a pedestrian scale node, kind of a walkable area, that would be at Green Garden and 12th. Where we see an opportunity given the proximate location to Frontier Park, to the Bayfront, and to this bike connection that is a priority. That would be a space, I think on the next slide we have a picture of what it might look like, to locate some complementary uses that people in the neighborhood would like to see. So there's outdoor dining and some kind of complementary stuff that might support those riding a bike around the area. Riley Stoker site, which is slightly outside of our project area, was also subject to discussion as a high opportunity site. So that is between the 12th Street industrial uses and Little Italy, which is primary residential, meaning that this would have to be transitional in nature and kind of respect the character of both uses, have some performance standards in place to control the impact. But there was a lot of interest, especially in our West Bayfront, in addressing the food desert issue. So if this is a site where we could have food production uses, maybe a market hall where vendors could sell produce and other things year-round, that would be welcomed by the neighborhood. Our final category for recommendations was amenities and beautification. How do we green up the corridor, improve its environmental performance, and also kind of its visual performance, incorporate public art. So we looked at ways to do this, recognizing that private property owners control much of what happens in the area. Where are the opportunities for the city to work with property owners to introduce things that people would like to see happen in the corridor? One thing that was a popular idea in public engagement was an industrial heritage display or park. If we could link up with private funders who would support developing something like that, that would be a nice amenity for the corridor, help preserve and enhance its history. Wayfinding signage is relatively inexpensive, but could help. In particular, gateway signage, the sign when you leave 79 and enter 12th Street is easy to miss, so that would be something relatively simple that could be done quickly to enhance the corridor's identity. The moonshot, the business owners expressed a lot of interest in undergrounding utility lines for reasons of resilience as well as the aesthetics of the area. Lighting is important. A lot of the crashes that have happened have been at night, so visibility is a factor for people crossing the street, so there are opportunities to improve the lighting of the corridor that would make a big impact. And public art, so whether the city is the leader of that effort or coordinates with other groups or agencies or even private entities, we identified in the study a few different approaches to that that we think could get some traction. So we can maybe scroll past those, but yeah, pavement art is one where we can engage a neighborhood group, and even if it's just along the shoulders. Architectural screening, if you get a business owner interested in doing something like this, there are certainly precedents for it, for kind of adding a frontage to blank facades as they are now. Something that was important to Planning Commission when we spoke with them throughout this process was their standpoint that this should represent phase one of a larger effort to take a more holistic look at 12th Street along its entire length through the city. So we've identified conditions and some data that are useful not only for application within the project area, but in other segments of 12th Street. And they would like to see this become a broader overall effort to see some of the conditions replicated and the context studied more broadly than our limited project area. The report contains cost estimates and funding strategies. We hope it is useful for the city. I think that's about it. So would entertain any questions.
Does anyone on council have any questions for the 12th Street Reimagine presenter? Kathy?
I met with you a few times and gone to a few things, and I'm thankful for everything that you have been working on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't personally have any questions. I went to the Erie, Strong Vincent Middle School presentation when you guys did it a few months back, and I seen how much community input was going on there. And I know you guys had 2 more additional pushes to get additional community input, so I know the community has definitely been heard. I look forward to seeing things move forward so that pedestrians are safer on the streets, especially at nighttime. We have had an increase of unimaginable numbers of death and tragedy due to the roads, so we need to get ahead of that. Does anyone else have anything to comment?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Alrighty, we will, Jackie, do you have something to say? No? Okay. We will go back to citizens to be heard. So you have 5 minutes for the record. Please state your name, clear, and the municipality in which you live.
Dave Forrest, Erie. I actually wasn't going to say anything about the Tenant Bill of Rights, but, listening to this, I just kind of grow so frustrated.
Can you speak a little louder?
I wasn't going to say anything about the Tenant Bill of Rights, but listening to the presentation just made me kind of frustrated and infuriated, because we've all known about the problem of substandard housing in this city for years, decades, and there just hasn't been a commitment by the city government over the years to really take it on and get serious about it. This goes back to the 2016 comprehensive plan. That comprehensive plan, which the city adopted, which is the blueprint master plan for the city, the number one issue in there is housing and substandard housing and code enforcement. And only this year has the city bothered to even hire additional code enforcement officers. But it's not about code enforcement officers, it's about a strategy. It's about making a commitment. And I just don't think there's been a commitment, and it really frustrates me. And here we are again, bringing this to the fore. I'm not, but the Erie Spiritual Coalition is bringing it to the fore. Will anything change? That's what I have to ask myself. Will anything change? Or will we be here 5 years from now and another group will come before this government and it won't be occupied, the seats won't be occupied by the same people, but will they be asking the next government to do something? And will that government ignore them? Got to make a commitment, got to get serious. You've got the tools, so use the tools you've got. But that wasn't why I was here. I think I maybe have I have much more serious issues, and that's leaf collection. And that is, a month ago I came here and I noted that in my neighborhood and Frontier, and now I understand Glenwood as well, everyone rakes their leaves to the curb. There's a special service, enhanced service for those relatively wealthy white neighborhoods. And the rest of the city doesn't enjoy that. The rest of the city has to bag them. And I asked at that time, what is the legal authority that allows those residents to rake their leaves into the curb and for the city crews to pick them up? And it's been like crickets ever since. Haven't heard anything. So I'm here to get my answer. Where is the legal authority to allow that to happen?
Well, Dave, you know that we don't go back and forth. This is your time to speak, and we listen. And I have asked myself as well for a response, and I have not gotten an answer on why specific neighborhoods do get to rake them into the leaves. I know that they have been told not to, but yet it still happens, and the leaves are picked up. So I do understand your frustration.
Well, there are a couple of issues here. One is equity. If all the
May
other
I say something, though?
Go ahead, Kathy.
In the early 2000s, I was working part-time at St. James Daycare, which is in a lower income area on Prospect Avenue. And Prospect Avenue at that time was loaded with trees everywhere, huge trees. And I witnessed firsthand, while I was at the daycare, there was a truck with big white hoses that sucked up the leaves in that Bird Drive area, Lower East Side. Thank you.
Okay. Well, now we have a law that requires the leaves to be containerized, not just in some neighborhoods, but in every neighborhood. But evidently, there's a carve out for Glenwood and Frontier, and that's just not fair. But it's also illegal. Everybody up here has taken an oath to uphold the laws. I think you should do it. And frankly, I know I've gone over my time, and I appreciate you giving me more time. It's really unacceptable not to get an answer to a straightforward question. I pay taxes. All these folks pay taxes. They would like their government to give them a straightforward answer to a straightforward question. And I'll be back next month, I guess, for my silent treatment. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
The Very Reverend Melinda Hall of 16505, representing the Erie Spiritual Coalition. Nice to see all of you again. Less nice to not see the Tenant Bill of Rights on the agenda. I presented you with 301 signatures the last time. I've got 29 more for you, bringing the total to 330. I also, if you're here for this, could you stand up for me? Okay, great. All right, thank you. You can sit down now. So I'm just a little confounded as to why it's not on the agenda. As mentioned, we did do our homework. The Tenant Bill of Rights was vetted by a legitimate housing attorney with whom you have had work done also. So I understand your solicitor should review it, but I'm at a loss for unsure why the pace should be as slow as it is. If there's a lack of certainty as to why this is needed to be passed as an ordinance, I'm happy to help clarify that. Once again, they are all existing laws, but they exist at the federal, the state, and the local level, making it extremely difficult for the average person to pursue finding them in multiple locations. Having them all in one spot ensures that people know what their rights and responsibilities are. It's clear, it's easy. It also lays a foundation for the city on agreeing to what we really are doing to ensure the rights and responsibilities of people. And I think that goes to the conversation, the ongoing conversation, particularly around code enforcement. If a member of council has the authority to place this on the agenda and has not, I am really at a loss as to why that power is not being exercised. This is a win for tenants and for landlords. It's a win for tenants because they need the protection. It's a win for landlords because we have landlords who are doing their best, who are doing a really nice job, and they're getting a bad rap. I talked to Joel Miller after the last meeting. We spoke. He's not wild about number 10, which is the only one that isn't already law in some other spot. It's a win for the local economy. Again, I don't know how you plan to get workers to move here if the houses they have to rent look like they do right now. I don't know how you expect kids to learn if they're trying to do their homework with cockroaches on their table. And I don't know how you expect families to thrive if they might be evicted at any possible moment. It's a win for being a welcoming city, which I understand is a priority. But if you've seen the homes in which a lot of our new Americans or refugees live in, it's a little bit unconscionable. I have folks from the cathedral. I know folks from my own personal community who've dug fecal matter out of ovens to move people in. So this is a win for Erie because housing matters. We're, at least in 2019, a 48% renter city. It matters. And if that's not enough, it matters just for the sake of humanity, for the sake of people's common dignity, to do the right thing to help our whole city and everybody in it flourish. I trust you to take this seriously. Just as a reminder, I've presented you with the signatures. We've talked to people in every zip code. If you're here, if you'd like to stand up just one more time, just as a reminder of my friends from across the city, from every zip code, multiple education levels, multiple races, we'd ask you to hear our voices. And so we ask you to pass this as an ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name's Freda Tepfer, and I live in Erie, and actually I wasn't going to talk about housing, but the first year I lived here, and I was forced to move out of the house that I had rented from a distance, not the house, the apartment, because I complained about windows that didn't open, lack of screens, and the landlord just said she claimed she was able to evict me with, in the middle of the month. So yeah, we need more protection. People should be, and nobody mentioned mold, but that's another big issue. I do have a question about number 9 under new business. I'm just a little concerned why we're giving more money. I was here last year, I think it was, when they turned the grant into a forgivable loan, and now we're giving more money, and there's no parks plan. There's going to be a parks plan, but we're putting all this money into somebody's recreation-related facility, and we don't have our parks plan, but we're taking a huge amount of money out of the parks budget, so I'm kind of confused about that. As you would expect, I'm also here to talk about accessibility. When the curb ramps went in on 22nd and Haybarger, all 4 corners were torn up at once. And it was like that for over a month, I think 6 weeks actually. And when I talked to the guy inspecting the contract in engineering, he said that's what all the contracts were saying, that they were not required to do it differently. And I shared with him information from the MUTCD, from the PROAG, from ADA, and other similar things, and document 213, which is what PennDOT uses on construction and pedestrians, and hopefully there will be no more contracts allowing curb ramps to encumber all four corners at once. He said it was better to only impact the corner once, but that's fine for traffic, but not for pedestrians. It left no options to pedestrians. Railroad underpasses still at Cherry, Liberty, Ash, Parade, and I think there's one more on the east side. It's so poor. There's little or no light where the pedestrians are walking. It's wet, it's disgusting, it's not safe. You know, the Safe Streets for All also has to do with how safe is the sidewalk you have to walk on so that you're willing to take a reasonable route like Cherry or Liberty. So I don't know how many times I've complained about that. There needs to be lighting. And Mel, whatever you can do to make Penelec or the railroad or whatever, but there ought to be lighting under there. I know you're a wizard when it comes to lighting. Can't address individual members of council. It's going to be snow season soon, and I'm concerned that actually on 12th Street between Sassafras and Pittsburgh, there's nobody plows the snow because there's nowhere to put it. So if the 12th Street Reimagined makes room for the snow, that's great. What I don't understand about the 12th Street Reimagined at the northeast corner of 12th and Green Garden is there's a hill there. I didn't see the hill in the picture. Did they not acknowledge that there's a hill? If they are going to do something at the northeast corner of 12th and Green Garden, they should complete the sidewalk all the way from 12th Street to the Bayfront Connector. So one of the big issues with snow is constantly there's clearing of driveways and parking lots by businesses, and they leave huge berms blocking the sidewalk. And I have turned in these over and over again, and the same Teresa's Deli, the building on Ellsworth and 26th, almost all of 38th Street, you can't, any of the commercial properties. I don't worry about what residents do. But if you are a business or a church or a parochial school and you can afford to pay somebody to plow your parking lot, you can darn well make sure that it's clear of snow. Didn't get to everything, but thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Abdullah Washington, City of Erie, Pennsylvania. I'd like to start with a quote from Warren Buffett. Everybody, oh, very good.
Yeah, there you go.
Everybody knows who Warren Buffett is, right? I'd just like to start with a quote from him. When the tide is low, you can see who is naked. When the ARP money became available between the county and city of Erie, it was almost $200 million. So when it comes to the poor, why must it always be either or? Why is it never both and? How many here, by a show of hands, knows that Puerto Ricans are American citizens? Not bad. Who will be in charge of deciding in America who stays and who must go? And how long will we be slaves to the politics of fear? And where are the poor supposed to live? Erie government is responsible for civic outcomes affecting both the citizens of the city and the county of Erie. Outcomes affecting the rich and poor, young and old, male and female, the straight and the queer, both white and persons of color, both native and new American, the unemployed, the worker, the degreed and undereducated, the confined and the free, the citizen and non-citizen. Without due consideration, how can there be hope that our intentions of growing Erie become anything more than a house of cards? Now, some people, they're just gamblers. They love playing fast and loose with other people's lives. They enjoy seeing the inside of a courthouse. The house always wins. And a large relocating business doesn't like to gamble. They're concerned about the culture of the workplace and the communities in which they do business. We also find that people don't like to stay where they feel unwanted. And where are the poor supposed to live? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm going to make this pretty short.
Please
and
state
sweet.
your name and the
My-
municipality in which you live. You get 5 minutes.
I am getting to that. My name is Shelley Carson. I live in the city of Erie. I live in Glenwood. Hi, Ed. Anyway, I wanted to say good evening to Mayor Schember, to City Council, and to you, Madam President of the Council. I am here for a purpose, and that is to respectfully yet forcefully request your
You do not
resignation.
get the right to acknowledge.
Oh, I absolutely do. I am a
direct
taxpayer. I am a taxpayer. I pay a lot of taxes in this city.
You do not get to address council
So
directly.
you are an elected official. I do have the right to request your resignation. You were 100% out of line on Facebook. Granted, you want to call it your personal page. When you have that seal, you are held at a higher standard. And you do not hold that standard. You sit there while everybody else is talking. I watch you tip your head and look up, down your glasses, down your nose at people. You aren't any better than me. You aren't any better than anybody sitting out here. Not one stinking person out here. How dare you? What do you know about white hoods and KKK? What do you know?
Can we call for a point of order?
Excuse me?
Order. You're not allowed to cuss in chambers, so you will be removed in the audience as well. Not during chamber. We're here to conduct business, and you guys are a distraction.
We are conducting business. We're
here to
asking
conduct
for
business,
your
and you are acting like
resignation.
children.
Your
respecting the
resignation.
rules.
Chuck.
We are asking for your resignation. You were out of line. You do not hold the standard that you should be holding. You are to represent everybody, every demographic, and every level of income. That is your job as the elected official. I asked the city council, you ask her to resign. You take her out of the position she has. She has fouled the entire council by her opinion and her remarks. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Good evening, guys. For those of you that have not had the pleasure of working with me or knowing me, my name's Kimberly Hunter. I live in Little Italy over on West 20th Street. Can you guys hear me now? Usually I don't need a microphone. I've come here this evening because you have failed us broadly and continuously. You have complete control, and yet your policies continuously are failing the taxpayer citizens of Erie. Your expenses keep exploding due to inflation with no new sources of revenue to compensate except to take money from those of us who actually own a home and property. And yet you cannot give us, the taxpayers, the simple things that we continually ask you for. We want clean and safe streets. We want new infrastructure to bring in new businesses for new, good-paying jobs. We don't want our kids to grow up here and have to move to another state to get a good job. And most of all, we want you to listen to us. Your new budget clearly doesn't address any of these new issues. It's a word salad. This is clearly a tax increase for the 47.92% of us who actually own our homes and property. I do applaud Councilman Ed Brzezinski and Mel Weatherspoon, who did vote against the increase in garbage fees, which tells me they do have concern for the average homeowner and how these extra fees affect their already struggling households. In this city, 1 in 163 people are the victims of a violent crime, and 1 in 44 people are the victims of property crime. We had 116 deaths last year, 90% of them due to fentanyl. It takes hard police work, and yes, sometimes overtime, to investigate these matters. Yet you always seem to want to pull the tools from their toolbox to solve these issues. The citizens of Erie, we love our police, and we want to see them out on the streets patrolling. If not for any other reason, it's to discourage people from committing these crimes. We applaud them and suggest you find other avenues to find ways to cover your budget. Our poverty rate right now is 25.1% above the national average, which is only 15.1%. We have lost many of our large employers in the last few decades due to failed policies, with no way to help sustain our ever-dwindling job market. Our infrastructure is a joke, with no attraction to bring in large manufacturing companies. We are decades behind the times. Our roads and bridges are falling apart. Our city is living in the past. Ignoring the issues facing the citizens of Erie and focusing on meaningless gestures revolving around a war thousands of miles away and using your expensive cell phone plan that we pay for, spewing hatred, inflaming tensions, and attempting to divide us with rhetoric from a decade ago that has all been continuously rejected by all members of our community. Rather than unite us, all you can try to do is distract us from your incredible and consistent failing track record of total failure. When will you start to do your actual job? The policies you have in place have been failing us for 5 decades, but it's not too late. We all need to work together. If we all work together, we can make Erie great again.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Reed Clicklin, and I am a 3-year resident in this city. I can't count the number of times people have asked me, why have I moved to Erie? And honestly, I can't say why. Still trying to figure that out. The Tenant Bill of Rights being proposed, aside from one new addition, is a list of federal, state, and local laws that are already on the books. However, that information simply does not exist on the City of Erie's website. Rest assured, the local golf course is easy to find there, though, however. With over 40% of the City of Erie being compromised of renters, it should be a priority to make this information easy to find and readily available. Having these resources available to landlords and tenants alike is necessary. How can both sides uphold their ends of an agreement in good faith and integrity if they do not know their obligations? It is not a matter of just having these laws and information available to the public. It is also a matter of properly enforcing them, ensuring that tenants are given the respect deserved as individuals to have safe and affordable homes. That includes being able to call on the city's code enforcement to rectify situations that are untenable. It is my hope that the council passes this Bill of Rights and enforces it. We cannot have vibrant, welcoming neighborhoods, Erie proudly states on the official website, if tenants and landlords cannot safely or promptly report unsafe conditions. Thank you.
David Tamuranis. I'm a resident of the city of Erie, and I'm speaking to demand that City Council move to consider the Tenant Bill of Rights proposed by the Erie Spiritual Coalition. I'm a city resident. I rent my housing at 10th and Chestnut in the West Bayfront. Before that, I lived in a neglected rental down the street at 623 Cherry Street, owned by Kevin Hederman Properties and managed by a company called Western Pennsylvania Real Estate Property Management. I had water pouring in the ceiling, pipes not working, mold growing on the walls, water damage in the walls, gaping holes in the walls from unfinished plumbing work, dead animals in the attic, and routine HVAC issues that I submitted to an online maintenance request form that was either ignored or marked finished in their system every time I did. My calls went unanswered and my emails bounced back constantly. The only time I ever heard from someone was when they tried to tell me I had to pay for plumbing repair when a tree branch grew through the stack. The only reason I knew a tree branch was what caused the backup was because I reached out to the plumbing company in an attempt to see if the problem was actually caused by me, which of course it wasn't, and I refused to pay. Needless to say, my experience there ended very poorly. However, I consider myself to be privileged when it comes to navigating these issues. I worked in a tenants' rights advocacy and managed low-income rental properties at a housing nonprofit in Youngstown, Ohio before moving to Erie. I was well-versed in asserting my rights as a tenant and fighting back against exploitative and neglectful practices. I was able to exit that situation by threatening legal action from a friend of mine that is an attorney, but I'm willing to guess that very few of the other 45,000 plus renters in the city of Erie have a comparable background or knowledge in their rights as a tenant or easy access to someone that can help them navigate legally asserting those rights. That's why it's so important to consider the Tenant's Bill of Rights. If you are a good landlord, then you shouldn't worry about anything that is proposed. The only people who have any problem with the Bill of Rights as proposed are landlords that profit off of our city through exploitative, neglectful, or discriminatory practices and leech money and resources out of our neighborhoods like parasites, destroying lives in the process. Housing is a basic human need. Making sure our residents have safe, clean, affordable, and fair access to rented housing does more than just make us feel warm and fuzzy inside. It sets our children up for success in school. It adds security and peace of mind to be able to plan financially for the future. It lessens the strain on our healthcare systems if people's homes aren't making them sick. And it lessens the strain on our social service sector by making sure people don't experience homelessness. There are so many more community-wide benefits to having safe and healthy rentals in the city. This is not only the right thing to do, but sets individuals up for success and has far-reaching benefits for the local economy in the long term. Beyond all that, though, these are people's lives. It is time to stop talking about rental housing stock as an investment or extra income or as something I can gift to my kid so they can start making extra income or whatever, and start considering it for what it actually is: the responsibility to provide someone with the basic human need of shelter. If you are a landlord, you are responsible for someone's shelter, their safety, and their quality of life. The work we did in Youngstown aimed to not only change people's material conditions, but to change the way we speak about and understand housing as a pillar of a strong community and economy. One thing that we all have a responsibility in protecting and preserving: both the renters and good landlords. Bad landlords are a threat to both and our economic well-being as a community and our lives. You all have a responsibility to deliver on legislation that will improve the quality of life for city residents, and I think a whopping half of the city residents that rent their housing are more important to consider protecting than a handful of wealthy property owners that more often than not do not live in the city and therefore, more importantly for you all, don't vote. Please consider this item on the agenda and consider how delivering on policy objectives like this bode well for the future of your party if it ever hopes to win back the middle class from the vice grip of the false promises of fascism. This is obviously only the first step, and I hope adopting this will also lead to a complete overhaul of code enforcement and an increase in the city's ability to go after illegal, neglective, exploitative, and discriminatory landlords. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Hello, City Council. My name is Marissa Litzenberg. I live in the Lower West Side of the City of Erie. Dave is a tough act to follow, but I will certainly do my best. I'm here today to voice my adamant support for the Tenant's Bill of Rights to be added to Council's agenda as soon as possible. The work of the Erie Spiritual Coalition has been remarkably comprehensive. The Tenant's Bill of Rights is a tangible first step to furthering the living conditions and rental landscapes for the renters of the City of Erie, which Dave just pointed out is half the city's population, thus half of the voting base. I'm a process-oriented person, so I went out and I found a process from the U.S. Government Accountability Office when we look at evidence-based policymaking. The first 3 steps are to define goals, identify strategies and resources, and assess the environment. Melinda and her coworkers at the Erie Spiritual Coalition have talked to neighborhood revitalization organizations, faith-based programs and organizations, you, City Council, and many staff in the mayor's offices who have heard harrowing stories of the power imbalance between renters and landlords. ESC has met with those groups who have programming and renters to hear their story and perspectives. They have put together presentations that contain both anecdotal evidence and statistics around renter experience. They have collected laws from the federal, state, and local level. They have determined what laws exist and aren't enforced and have identified gaps in those laws. They have defined goals, identified strategies and resources, and assessed the environment. This is step 1. Step 2 is to assess the sufficiency of existing evidence, identify and prioritize evidence and needs, and generate new evidence. They've collected data points that help tell the story of a renter's experience in the city. They have identified the current laws that are on the books, have identified the barriers to those laws being enforced, and have identified mechanisms at City Hall that need support to ensure that renters have access to the protections that are and should be afforded to them. The Tenant's Bill of Rights is an example of presenting an informed first step in building evidence. The last leg from the office is to use evidence-based learning, apply learning to decision-making, and communicate learning and results. This is using the evidence, and this is where I believe Council is currently at. By putting the bill on the agenda to consider, Council is doing their portion of responsible policymaking by considering an option that is well-informed, vetted, and supported by members of the public. The renter landscape is not a new issue to Council or anyone in this room. By considering the Bill of Rights, I believe that Council would be signaling their support into continuing to balance the scales of the renter-landlord relationships and telling renters in the City of Erie that their concerns and hardships are heard, validated, and are actively being worked to be addressed. The bill is a critical first step in doing that, and you would be signaling your support in that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
My name is Don Jacobs. I'm in 16502. What's that? The hell are you talking? I don't need a hat to identify. My name's Don Jacobs. It's a Jewish last name. My family was in the Holocaust. And you want to call me a Nazi or KKK member? What is wrong with you? I know what hate is like. My family experienced it. Don't you dare hide behind some bullshit comment that it was you made a statement on your private page. You called me a Nazi sympathizer. My family was victim to the Nazis. It's not your place. You're rude. You're ignorant. And you defended her. You defended her to me. You, sir, you use the pronouns they, them. We the people. We call for your resignation tonight.
Thank you. Have a good night. Order will be removed. We will have security remove you if you continue to disrupt business.
Escalate.
The next citizen is going to speak.
She's only escalating it.
Good evening. I'm Ann McCarthy. My address is in Harbor Creek. I coordinate Benedictines for Peace, and I'm also president of the Trinity Square Foundation, which works in housing and green spaces on East 22nd Street. I'm here to support housing as a human right and as a moral issue, and lack of adequate, affordable housing as an important moral issue facing all of us. And the Renters' Bill of Rights is one contribution to solving Erie's housing crisis. From living on East 22nd Street, I know a lot about how difficult it is, how much money it costs, and how important it is, especially for the children, to have adequate houses. We took a number of houses in code violation and did the work, as many people have done, of trying to improve one block. We all need to work together on this, and we're all working together on this, but we have a next step to go, and it's really important. It's the Renters' Bill of Rights. In my heart, I want to say something else that I didn't plan to, but following my mentor, Mary Lou Kanacki, who started Benedictines for Peace and started the Trinity Square Foundation and the Art House and the Soup Kitchen, and was very passionate about justice issues. She was an incredible debater. If you ever needed to debate Mary Lou Kanacki, you were in trouble because she was going to win. She spoke strongly and passionately for her ideas, and she worked for them as well. And at the same time, she called us over and over again. She modeled it and called us not to demean another person,
She called us to try to reach beyond, to listen for ideas, to listen for heart suffering, and not to demean or diminish or do violence to another person. And I just want to close with, she wrote some mantras, and there's a mantra that she wrote and she titled it On Work. And the children at the art house use this every day as they begin their day. And I want to bring it to this space now, and also to our city and our country, which sometimes feels so divided. And yet we're all human. May my mind think no harm. May my lips speak no harm. May my hands do no harm. And may the children of tomorrow bless the work I offer. May all we do be for the children. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Hi there, my name's Danielle Nolan. I'm from Lake City, 16423. This is my first time here. Thank you for bringing me out tonight. I just want you to know my name, Danielle Nolan, okay? My face, remember this, please. You called me a racist, unless I'm the 10% that's not, 90% or more is what your quote was. But regardless if it's your private page or not, I saw it, my children saw it, okay? My community saw it. I think we all saw it. You must have gotten your phone blown up the next day. You had to field all this bullshit coming in, which is fine. Good job for you for being a friend, but standing up for something that's wrong, you're not doing your job. That is awful of you. My son has hat day. Catholic schools, they had a whole red ribbon weekday. He wears his red MAGA hat. Are you calling my 11-year-old a racist because he has pride in his country, because he stands up and believes in a president, a leader, a man with balls? Okay? Seriously? So now he's a racist? Well, guess what? I teach jazzercise. I was there this morning. There is a lady in this audience that was with me. We were there with a woman who is a migrant from Jamaica, one from Dubai, my friend who's working on citizenship, who's a Muslim. They all know me. You don't know me. They know me. I'm not a racist. You're a liar. You don't deserve that seat. You don't deserve to be here. I don't know who you think you are, but remember me. You got it?
Thank you. Have a good night.
You got it? I'll see you at Wegmans. I'll see you somewhere, sweetheart.
Order, the next citizen will be coming forward to speak.
So, my name is Andrew Carson, and I'm a resident of the city of Erie and a 1986 graduate of the Real Academy High School. I am also a 21-year military veteran, retired as a field grade officer. I have a bachelor's degree in social science, a master's in forensic science, and I was working on my doctorate of business administration with a concentration in public administration prior to moving back to the city of Erie to take care of my mother who is infirm. The reason I'm here tonight is not only to show my support for my fellow Red Hats, who I know are not racist. In the Army, let me tell you, we were all green. And your friend here who served in the Marine Corps will tell you the same thing. We may have been different shades green, but we were all green. And it was about mission accomplishment. It was about getting the job done, being part of a team. And what I see going on in the city of Erie right now, it's actually disgusting to me. This place, when I left here, there were more than 12, 14, 18 high schools in the city of Erie. We had East High, we had Academy, we had Tech, we had St. Vincent, we had Mercyhurst, we had Cathedral Prep, I can go on and on and on, okay? But the point is this. For all this talk about the current housing situation, this city has lost over 50% of its population in the last 40 years. And why is that? Rather than spending your money on studies of beautifying 12th Street, why don't you look at why businesses are no longer making their home here in Erie? Spend your money on empirical data, on studies, scientific studies that actually include the raw numbers. How many cars go down West 12th Street every day? How many pedestrians use that area? How many housing areas are you going to affect by spending millions and millions of taxpayer dollars on those pet projects? I'm just asking you to think about it. If we have a housing problem, why? When we have half the number of people living in this city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Yo, I'm Cole Shenley, they, them pronouns, and I live in the city of Erie. Are we allowed to yell now? A couple years ago, somebody called me crazy from up there, like the former president. We allowed to do that now? Because I yell way louder than all these people. That made it real fun. Nah. I hope you guys support the Tenant Bill of Rights. We really need some more protections for our tenants in the city. We need strong protections. I don't think all landlords are bad. I got friends that are landlords. They're good people. But you know what? More protections for the people at the bottom are what is needed in this community to lift so they can get higher up. That is a really big deal. Also, if anybody's really mad, there's an election next year. You can run and vote if you live in the city. But if you don't live here, she don't got to listen to you. So, thanks.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Marty Wachuka, a resident of Erie. I'm going to open up with a quote from Toni Morrison. The very serious function of racism is distraction. It keeps you from doing your work. It keeps you explaining over and over again your reason for being. Somebody says you have no language, and you spend 20 years proving that you do. Somebody says your head isn't shaped properly, so you have scientists working on the fact that it is. Somebody says you have no art, so you dredge that up. Somebody says you have no kingdoms, so you dredge that up. None of this is necessary. There will always be one more thing. I open with this quote because tonight I intended to come and support the Erie Spiritual Coalition as a fellow organizer. I, as an organizer, and many people in the community have been hearing for years the experiences of renters and even homeowners struggling to upkeep their properties, dealing with sewage coming down their ceilings, bugs in their properties, disrespect from landlords. And instead of us focusing on that issue tonight, we're focusing on rhetoric over who's racist or not. I stand here with my nerves racked as a young black woman in the city over people who are not of color telling another woman of color what she can and can't call racist. When I'm sitting here, and I'm not calling you racist.
We have a speaker.
I'm not calling you racist, but it's a hard argument to make when Stephen Miller, a white supremacist, has been elected or nominated to that position. Hegsta has been nominated as Secretary of Defense, a known white nationalist. And as a young black woman in this city, It is extremely upsetting to hear this rhetoric and this angry targeted at a young Latina woman. And that's not even what I'm here to talk about. Like I said, racism is meant to distract from the issues. And instead of focusing on the issue of housing discrimination, housing disrepair, housing abuse, instead, what connects us to each other, the suffering of working class people, instead you are attacking people like myself, people up here. And I just want to say it's disgusting and abhorrent. And I have the right, she has the right, we all have freedom of speech, at least for now. At least for now. In this country, and as a citizen, I have the right, freedom of speech, and I will continue to speak until my time is up. As much as it might upset you. You have the right to run for office next year. I have the right to run people for office next year. And I will do that. And I will support people who support housing issues. I will support people who support renters. I will support people who support working class issues. And I will continue to do so. And I will continue to use my voice and my body as someone who's underrepresented, marginalized, and disrespected every day in this city to speak up for those who can't be here tonight, who can't make it to these meetings, and who would be afraid in the face of all that is behind me to speak up. So I'm going to stand here and use the rest of my time in silence. Thank you. I do. I think you don't watch the right kind of news. I'm highly educated. I'm sorry that education has missed you. Please support the Erie Tenant Bills of Rights. It is more than necessary. It is long overdue. And we will work to unelect anyone who doesn't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good evening. Hi, good evening. My name is Carlos Mora, 16441. I work in the city of Erie. Thank you, Mayor Chamber, and thank you, everyone. I wasn't planning to be speaking tonight, honestly. This is my first city council meeting. I think I'm just gonna speak my mind right now. Please, I know right now we are not agreeing politically in every issue, but what I'm going to say, please don't take it the wrong way. I'm speaking broadly. Right now, first of all, I'm an immigrant, if that's relevant for some of you. I have an accent, if that's relevant for some of you. I tend to vote liberal, if that's relevant for some of you. But I'm here as a worker, just as a human being like any of you. I work 40 hours, 50, 60 hours. I pay my bills. I pay my taxes. Then I have no money. And then I go and watch the news and get angry because the other guy is saying some angry stuff or some stupid stuff, pardon my language. This is the opportunity to pass this Bill of Rights. I've never seen so much effort put together in the city of Erie. I've been here for 9 years, coming together, regardless if you are black, white, blue, green, purple, I don't care. Regardless if you like the hat, you don't like the hat. Regardless if you like the guy, you don't like the guy. Regardless if you have an accent, you don't have an accent. I don't care. I'm here talking as a worker because I'm pretty sure most of you, and also the people behind, you pay taxes, you pay your bills, you're fucked. We have here an opportunity to come together as a community and pass this bill. I understand that there is a big elephant on the table about, what's the issue here at hand. Okay, I'm not going to tell you I agree with you or disagree. I'm just here telling you that we have something that we can do right now, which is pass this Bill of Rights. We can left our political bias for 1 second, get this done, and if you guys please, you can still come and kill each other with slurs. Up to you. Well, bro, you do what you do. This is America, right? I'm sorry, this is a mess, but this is what I had to do. You have the opportunity in your hands to do the right thing. You have it in your hands. Oh, yeah, this is a poor Latino boy. He's a very young. He doesn't understand. I study political science. I'm well-versed. I have interest in the capital city. I work with Senator Casey. I'm way smarter than I look. And the reason why I'm telling you all this is because this is well-vetted, as it has been said before. You only have to pass it. What's stopping you? Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good evening. My name is Howard Bibbs. I live at 2931 Chestnut Street here in Erie, PA. I just want to say with great power comes responsibility. And I'm not saying it's about city council, but about the leader of our town. That responsibility has not been shown to the residents of Erie, especially to the Asian residents, by making it harder and harder for them to stay in their homes and be able to care for themselves into their golden years with these constant fees. Now, a fee, when you look up a comparison of a town to a town, fees don't show up, only tax. Only tax show up. So a fee could be a double-edged sword because it doesn't show up. So people really don't know how much you have to pay to live here. They don't understand it. I've been here for 70 years. I know. These fees are not valid. Everyone must give an account of what they are doing and held accountable. According to the authority operation of the power of authority for the Municipal Authority Act, it says the Municipality Authorities Act specifies the rights and powers of the authority and vests them in the authority board. It's not invested into city council. It's not invested to anybody on the 5th floor. It's invested into the Water Department Board. And that's where things are going wrong here. The board exercises these powers through its officers, employees, and consultants. They include the following powers, and it lists the number of powers that are included in there. So one thing that we have to realize, and I think everybody behind me needs to realize, if you came here because you compared something on a computer, the computer is wrong because the information is wrong. You will not see fees in the computer. You're only going to see taxes. So you don't know the fees unless you live here. At the moment, there is one to be held accountable, and you are not transparent and do not have the power to force the residents of Erie to pay fees, which, with the fear of having their property assessed with liens, created the problems of where payments of garbage and sewer. One person created that. Because when you look at your bill, the bill says garbage, sewer, but when you go down to the remit section, it says remit to water. So now we're dealing with 2 more people to do accounting, where accounting is not even necessary. You pay $25,000 twice for 2 more people to do something, and what they're doing, I don't even have a faintest idea. What is needed at this time is an audit of the water department. but there will not be an audit. The only way there'll be an audit is if the people of Erie, the residents of Erie, you guys do all kinds of GoFundMes. You do GoFundMes for parties, you do GoFundMes for whatever, people, homes them fell down or whatever. But you need a GoFundMe so you probably could send a person like me that don't mind talking to people and telling them the truth. And to get someone to come here to audit what's going on here. That is what's needed right now. The water department has a board, and the board should be allowed to exercise themselves as the board. That's right. And they have not been allowed because someone on the 5th floor want to take all the power. And there's too much power. There's other ways of getting money if you read the Municipal Act. If you actually read it. I've read it. And I'm telling you that you need to read it. But this person is not the authority. And the people that was hired should never been hired.
Thank you.
They should never been
Have
hired.
a good night.
Madam President, the audits are available through eriewater.org. You can get those if you have interest. Seemed like a lot of people are interested in that. That information is publicly available.
Thank you. Do we have any other citizens who would like to be heard? Do we have any other citizens who would like to be heard? I'm hearing and seeing none. We will move on if there are no other citizens who would like to be heard. Order. We are conducting business.
I'd actually like to come up and read the post real quick. If that'd be all right. Can I do that? State your name. Spell your name, where you live. Where you live.
My name is Ryan. I live in Lake City. Excuse me. About 90%, if not more, of you Red Hat followers need to be honest with yourselves and acknowledge that white hood you all own or were raised to own because of your sick family history. You are a racist in capital letters. And if you're a person of color, you need to stop hating yourself and find your roots because you are lost and your assimilation is showing and you are embarrassing the rest of us who have educated ourselves on the real American's history with all its bloodshed and slaughter for black and brown people. Wow. That red hat is the new white hoods for the KKK. Yeah, really? KKK? KKK? Seriously? That red hat is the new white hoods for the KKK. And I want to be wrong, but when people show you who they are, you have to believe them. Yeah. No apologies still, right? You are so proud. So proud. Hang on to that. You too, Chuck.
Thank you. Have a good night. Do we have any other citizens who would like to be heard? Do we have any other citizens who would like to be heard? Do we have any other citizens who would like to be heard? I'm hearing none, so we will be moving on.
Ordinances for final passage. Council file number 16.
We are conducting business, so if you cannot conduct business, we will ask you to leave or have you removed. Ordinance for forced reading.
Ordinances for final passage. Council file number 16476, pending official file ordinance 62, 2024.
Lord, why don't you wait? We can't hear a thing anyway.
Security, can we have you guys get order together? They're going after the reverend in the right, and then I have some gentlemen over here on the left.
Okay, how about now? Can I talk now?
Go for it.
Ordinances for final passage. Council file number 16476, official ordinance 62, 2024. An ordinance appropriating the sum of $373,000 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue and providing for the expenditure thereof. This is for the Cops, Police, Technology, and Equipment Command Vehicle. Sponsored by Councilmember Witherspoon, seconded by Councilmember Schaaf. The council file number 16476, having been read, is hereby adopted, finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores. City Council pass official file ordinance 62, 2024 by yeas 7, nays 0. Council file number 16477, official ordinance 63, 2024, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $32,791 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue and providing for the expenditure thereof. This is for the Port Security Grant, sponsored by Councilmember Witherspoon, seconded by Councilmember Schaaf. The Council File Ordinance Bill number 16477, and now known as Official File Ordinance 63, 2024, be finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores. City Council pass Official File Ordinance 63, 2024 by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File number 16478, Official Ordinance 64, 2024, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $500,000 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue and providing for the expenditure thereof. This is for the Department of Justice prosecuting cold cases, sponsored by Councilmember Witherspoon, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance Bill number 16478, and now known as Official File Ordinance 64, 2024, be finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores. City Council pass Official File Ordinance 64, 2024 by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File number 16479, Official Ordinance 65, 2024, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $492,000 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue and providing for the expenditure thereof. This is for the Cops, Police, Technology, and Equipment Improvements. Sponsored by Councilmember Witherspoon, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance Bill number 16479, and now known as Official File Ordinance 65, 2024, be finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores. City Council pass Official File Ordinance 65, 2024 by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File number 16480, Official Ordinance 66, 2024, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $3,125,000 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue and providing for the expenditure thereof. This is for the COPS hiring program, sponsored by Councilmember Witherspoon, seconded by Councilmember Schaaf. The Council File Ordinance Bill number 16480, and now known as Official File Ordinance 66, 2024, be finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, and Flores. City Council passed official file ordinance 66, 2024 by yea 7, nay 0. Ordinances for first reading. Council file number 16474, an ordinance of the City of Erie, County of Erie, and Commonwealth of Pennsylvania adopting the general fund and certain other budgets for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2025 and ending December 31st, 2025. Sponsored by Councilmember Schaaf, seconded by Councilmember Nelson. The Council file ordinance number 16474, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores. City Council adopt City Council file ordinance 16474 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council file number 16475, an ordinance fixing the tax rate for all city purposes for the fiscal year 2025 beginning January 1st, 2025 and ending on December 31st, 2025. Sponsored by Councilmember Schaaf, seconded by Councilmember Nelson. The Council file ordinance number 16475, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council.
Madam President?
Yes.
Can we just make sure that the folks understand that this is procedural? It's a first reading. We have to have 2 readings to pass anything. So this makes sure that when we do the second reading, everything will fall into place. Doesn't mean that we totally agree with what's going on with the budget now, because we don't know the whole budget yet. Not looking for trouble, just letting everybody know. Thank you.
Voting on the ordinance, Council members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores. City Council read and adopt Council file ordinance 16475 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council file number 16481, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $200 from appropriated and anticipated revenue from donations made by the Value Home Center for fire. Sponsored by Councilmember Witherspoon, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council file ordinance number 16481, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores. City Council read and adopt Council file ordinance 16481 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council file number 16482, an ordinance amending the codified ordinances of the City of Erie, Sewers and Water, Article 933-Sewer Rentals, Section 93302A. Sponsored by Councilmember Troop, seconded by Councilmember...
Chuck would like discussion.
Yeah, she didn't finish it though. I said it too fast.
Seconded by Councilmember Titus. The Council file ordinance number 16482, have been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council.
Discussion. Hey, mainly in response to the comments made by the one resident, Howard Bibbs, that you don't get to compare it to other cities. You actually do. These are public things. We actually just did a study yesterday to compare it to other cities. Our sewer rates are about 1/3 of what they are in Youngstown. They were about half of what they were in Buffalo. To the couple that was here in Lake City, they're getting stuck on those sewer rates. We were beating it all around. We have very good rates. This does look to increase it. We have had some discussions on how to make that more appropriate for the residents. I also want to point out that that this is an enterprise fund. The amount of money we spend is the amount of money we collect. Now it is zero balance. It used to be that there was a transfer before, what was that, about 3 years ago, 2 years ago we stopped that? So this is strictly money in, money out, here's the service as you pay for it. Previous years it's been used to address the general budget. That's not the case anymore. It is simply an enterprise fund that will frankly beat the numbers of just about anyone you could compare us to. If you look at these rates and you think to yourself you got a 5/8 pipe with 4,000 cubic meters of waste that you do a year, fine. Put those numbers into any city's numbers and compare them to ours. I'm real comfortable with that. If you're worried about the increase that we have on it, I get it. Increases stink. We're beating everybody else, and we're still going to try to make it better. We got some things that we think we could do to help residents. All right?
Any other discussion?
Well said, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck. Voting on the ordinance, council members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16482 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16483, an ordinance amending codified ordinances of the City of Erie, Part 9, Utilities and Public Service Code, Title 7, Other Public Services, Article 951, Residential Refuse, Section 95109, Garbage and Refuse Collection Fee, increasing the quarterly collection fee from $287.60 per year to $310.80 per year. The annual collection fee shall be assessed against each dwelling unit and billed on a quarterly basis. Sponsored by Councilmember Troop, seconded by Councilmember Nelson. The Council File Ordinance Number 16483, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski.
No.
Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon.
No.
Flores. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16483 by yeas 5, nays 2 on first reading. In old business, pursuant to Pennsylvania State 4-461B3 in a public hearing held on Wednesday, November 6, 2024 at approximately 9:30 a.m. in City Council Chambers, 626 State Street, Municipal Building, Erie, PA, concerning the intermunicipal transfer of liquor license number R10673 from SP69 LLC, 6116 Swanville Road, Erie, PA, in the Township of Fairview, Erie County, PA, to be transferred to the proposed gas station/restaurant located at 2176 West 32nd, Erie 16508, in the City of Erie, Erie County, Pennsylvania, be hereby approved. Councilmember Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores. Resolution passes yeas 7, nays 0. Council President, this takes us to new business.
Motion to move the balance.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Any separations?
Any separations for the new business, council?
Number 9.
Number 9? Any others?
Any other separations? Voting on the balance of the agenda, members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, and Flores.
So quiet in here now. Appreciate you guys being able to handle a respectful business meeting.
A resolution sponsored by Councilmember Witherspoon, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski, that Erie City Council authorizes and directs the proper city officials to transfer $1.4 million from Parks and Recreation to the Urban Core Revolving Loan Fund for the purpose of supporting the Eagles Nest Leadership Corporation Recreation Center. Discussion?
All right, I drew a short straw, or was voluntold to explain this during our caucus meeting. This is, if you're familiar with what's been looked at with the Eagles Nest, we've put money towards this. Originally it was a grant. It was changed into a forgivable loan rather than being a grant. And then later there was also a gap funding loan that comes from our Urban Core Fund. This particular case is a one-year loan from an account that we have $4 million sitting in that we will not be using for the next year. So that money will be replenished at the end of the year once the project is complete, and there can be other funding attached to it at that point to replenish this one-time loan to finish it before the construction season's over. So this is a simple pass-through that is just being held with interest for a year, and then will come back to us to go back into the parks funding money that we could not have spent in 2025 that we will be spending to finish this project and then spend it in 2026. There's been a lot of questions. I've probably taken 5 phone calls about that this week.
I just have a comment. I know myself and Michael Keys, a past council member, have been very we have been very strongly wording the need for us not to touch and mess with the park and recreation plan. Fund money. I guess the money is in that account so that we can apply for additional grants. As a third-class city, we get unlimited grants that we are able to participate in, and in the 3 years that I've been on council, we've been hearing about this plan. We got to the point where we hired someone, but then they had to rehire someone, so the plan is not formed. With them assuring me that this money will be put back in a year's time, I have hope that this is true. I have a hard time seeing that happen, but we will still be on council to make sure that that does happen, because I will be asking about it, and I will be very vocal if it doesn't happen, about the fact that we were put in a rock and a hard spot, that we know that the community needs this, especially young people, but when ARP funds were given to us, we did not discuss creating a gym. That was just something that, happened because the funds were available, and luckily the children in that neighborhood are hopefully going to be able to benefit from it being there. There's an inside gym that's being constructed for them. Do we have any other comments?
Voting on the resolution, Council Members Brzezinski, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon, Flores.
No.
Resolution passes yeas 6, nays 1. I believe this takes us to committee reports.
Alrighty, we can start on the left side and work our way around.
Thank you, Madam President. All of us received the police report on the outstanding job that the various departments within the police department, when they was looking for a young man named Alex who had Down syndrome, left his house, and his parents was very, very concerned, could not find him. And our units got together and they found him. Of course, the mother was very, very happy. She sent a very nice letter to the chief and asking the chief to share it with his department heads and the officers that found the young man. And that definitely made me very happy. Because anybody know me, I'm kids oriented. Also, I attend the meeting of the school district athletic commission meeting. We met at high school, and I was very impressed with the work that's being there. They renovating the swimming pool. They renovated the gymnasium, and when I walked into the gymnasium, it looked like a little New York gym. I mean, it was outstanding. And I want to say to Councilman Troop, you have a beautiful facility there for the kids. And they have a new gym. They have a weightlifting room, new wrestling room. It's outstanding. The other meeting I attended was the Ticket and Tow Committee. That Ticket and Tow Committee is when someone gets a ticket or a boot and they feel it was not justified. They will come in, fill out the paperwork, and it comes to a committee of 5 of us. And I say to the citizens, If that happens to you, don't say, oh, well, I'll just pay the ticket. If you feel that you were right, you didn't see the sign wasn't visible, somebody else parked on the grass, so you parked on the grass. Many times when we review it, we resend or repay the individuals who have previously paid for it. So have your day in court. Sometimes we say the signs were there. So please just don't accept it if you feel that you're right. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilmember Tyler Titus.
Thank you. I had a lot written up today to kind of go over and kind of go through the motions, but I really think that would be dismissing what just happened in our chambers tonight. So I am going to speak a little bit from the heart because I'm going to take the liberty because I was elected into this office, and that's the power that's been granted to me. Is I am so disappointed. I am just disappointed with how that went out. I am disappointed with what did not happen to intervene. I am just disappointed for every person who had to sit and witness and hear that. And my heart is just very heavy. My heart is very heavy. We are proclaiming to be a welcoming city with the desire to end racism, and what we allowed tonight was the exact opposite. I will give my report out on my stuff at the next meeting, but in lieu of all of the things that happened today, not only did we have to sit here and sit with decorum as vitriol was spewed, it's also Trans Day of Remembrance, which means today, right now, my community members are in a church honoring the lives that were taken and ended abruptly by violence this year. And there are two names that I would like to bring to the forefront, and that's Nex Benedict and Polly Lycan. This is, as we're kind of honoring their memory, this is what many of us go through every day. Well, every day. Many of us have many of our lives torn apart and laid on display, and we're supposed to sit calmly and quietly and just listen as it happens. And sometimes it's really, really hard to do that. And it's our job as electeds to say that that's not acceptable, that it's not acceptable, and that we will do things to promote a genuinely welcoming and inclusive and safe city. So as I close out my report here, we are heading into a holiday season. And in response to everything that we heard tonight, and it's going to be on repeat, and I'm sure my phone is going to blow up, and I'm going to get more videos of people telling me where I'm parking and where I am, because that is what's been happening lately, is the following and the vitriol that's coming out. As I ask us to respond with this, is there are a lot of community organizations and services who are really struggling budget-wise, and they could really use every ounce of our help. Because they are the ones who are showing up for the people who are in very difficult situations. So instead of responding with hate, I ask that we respond with volunteering, that we make donations to the community organizations that mean the most to us, and that we are kind, and that we are gentle, and that we help each other through this season.
Madam President, I really don't have a report today. Just want to say to all the citizens to have a safe and happy holiday if you celebrate next week. I did have my first experience with the canine. I believe it's Keisha. I believe that's what she was at our school the other day. So I think the canine deserves a round of applause for finding the youngster the other day. I believe that. And also, if you have, I work in school, as Mr. Witherspoon has stated. Been working with our youth for 28 years now. And, next week at Erie High School, we do have parent conferences if you have a student or someone that goes there Monday and Tuesday. And I also heard loud and clear today a lot about housing, so that's definitely something we need to think about. That's it.
Thank you. Councilmember Chuck?
Yeah.
Nelson?
I went to a planning meeting. They reviewed the Sister St. Joseph Neighborhood Network Plan, so we should be expecting to see that on council agenda here shortly. I went to a ribbon cutting for Velocity Net's Phase 2 expansion, so that's something that council's been actively pushing for, shifting financing and really reaching out to other providers. Even we've been very aggressive about that. They're moving into Phase 2, which should light up half of our city. When I got into office, it was less than 10%. It was the lowest percentage of any comparable city in the nation. In 3 years now, we're looking at half the city being lit. Our financial advisor for the Water Reserve Fund and the Pension Board was in town. We didn't have any formal meeting. We went to lunch because we didn't have a quorum for the Water Reserve Fund. So instead, we just had lunch and went over the numbers there. And it's always really exciting to see. I mean, there's that funds our capital budget, although we haven't let that happen for 3 years now. Now the fund's growing to a point that it may sustainably fund our capital needs every year. We have about $1 million in capital needs. When I got into office, we had about $10 million in this fund. Taking 4% of it doesn't cover half of our capital needs. So now we're up to a point where the fund's getting closer to that $16 million mark. And if the market keeps staying as strong as it has been the last couple of years, we may have our capital expenses funded. So I'm really excited about that, although I know every time I bring it up, everyone in the finance department cringes because I have not been letting that money out of our site. It takes a supermajority, so I always can find a couple votes. In regards to some of the comments that have been made tonight, obviously there was 2 big themes of the citizens to be heard. Half of them are gone, so I don't really have anything left to say to them. I will tell you, and I spent about 7 hours on the phone with this. I answered every single phone call, and I stayed on the phone as long as the person's emotional need dictated. I tried to match their energy, although I'm pretty snarky sometimes. My wife listened to one of the conversations and said it was the most condescending she's ever heard me in my life. But the guy was, I had to be. 7 hours on the phone. And actually in that conversation, by the end of it, the guy said he'd vote for me. So it came around. We heard a lot from citizens, and I think that's important. And we heard a lot from non-citizens, people that just wanted to drive in because their feelings were hurt. And we provided a lot of space for their feelings. And I'll say that's due to people that we hear their feelings. They were heard tonight. I'm happy we were able to provide a safe space for their feelings. To the rest of you that are still here, I do appreciate listening to many of you, and most of you guys are actually Democrats and will vote in the next primary. You guys come out with a lot more wittiness and self-deprecating humor and passion. I like it. It's more consistent. About housing. Now, we're talking about Housing Bill of Rights. What the Bill of Rights is that all of our housing rights from the state, federal, and local level would be put on a brochure, functionally, I think is an appropriate description, and that we would require that be provided to tenants. That's what this is about, is a brochure that explains rights. And I appreciate how much you guys have been coming out, and the fact that it's not on the agenda yet, because it hasn't been first and second, is just due diligence to make sure that everything is offered with correct opinions, legal opinions. Like, we can't just take the legal opinions of somebody else, and there's a lot of other priorities in the city right now. But let me just point this out, that in the last just 2 years, if you're worried about housing, I think this brochure for tenants is important. But in the last 2 years, let me go over a list of things that the city's done, as there are so many of you in the audience that have shown such passion. Some of this, September, we passed the most substantial zoning reform really in 24 years to address quality affordable housing without a single public comment about it. And I'm going to be honest, I think that was way more substantial than what we're being asked for today. But let me go down the list. In January of 2020, 2023, we passed a vacancy ordinance to make sure the houses didn't remain vacant, that they were registered, that came with a heavy registration fee, and that would keep houses in quality, rotation, that houses wouldn't fall into disrepair. This is a preventative measure. We increased quality of life ticketing. We provided more options with short-term rentals. We increased the rental registration ordinance to be more substantial. We didn't, Councilwoman Faulkner and Flores worked for 3 different updates to tenants' rights, including domestic abuse, retaliation, and giving tenants 60 days notice of any rental increases. That happened last summer. Last year, we were asked to increase the code enforcement office by 2. With a supermajority of council, we made it 3. You asked why. That was an easy ask, and we said, would that help? We'll give you more. All right? There's currently a reorganization in that bureau with new management because we understand some of the challenges that have happened there, and from the City Hall perspective, it's being addressed. Currently, we're working towards a housing study. That's in the budget for this year, $100,000 allocated for a housing budget, or housing study. We understand the issue here. A lot of things that you're asking for, they need studies first to verify, to demonstrate a need for grants from the state and federal level. I'm going to be bringing forward a resolution to consider home rule charter. If you look at how Lancaster considered it, they considered it an affordable housing issue because it diverts some of the revenues that the city takes from property taxes. It keeps people from getting priced out of their houses. Altoona's done some creative things with it as well to make the system more progressive, to help the poorest of the homeowners. I take some slight offense to the public comments that we heard over and over again, how things aren't being done, because I'll give you a 2-year track record of us kicking butt. And I think this brochure for the tenants is going to be good. And I think every single one of those examples is better, and I'm working on other things right now that I also think will be better for housing. But we'll get to it soon, and the solicitor's looking at it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Councilmember Shaw?
I believe that I'll do the first and Tyler will do the second, as we had mentioned.
Correct.
No, I actually figured out what I did. I went to the Veterans Day parade, and I like to do that to honor our veterans that are living and have given so much. And it was a beautiful, beautiful day for it. And I talked to a veteran that gave me an idea that he had seen. And then afterwards went to the Jefferson Memorial School on 38th Street. And they have a beautiful ceremony, and Bruce Gingrich has provided not orchestra, but a choir, and they're beautiful songs, and the bagpipes are there. Bruce has been doing it for 29 years, and it's a very moving ceremony. I have veterans in my family and relatives that have been lifers through the different services, so I appreciate their service. I went to the ribbon cutting with Chuck Nelson for the Resilience Center, and I'm very thankful to all the people who will be involved with volunteering this year through April, and just am so very grateful that that was able to be a sturdy place for them. I went to a birthday event for the month of November at Lavery's, and I think this is a great idea. It was people who had November birthdays, and they just invited the public to come, and if they could, instead of a gift for themselves, it was a gift for the community shelters, the Resilience Center, and I just thought that was awesome. They were able to get a carload, they said, of gifts for them, so just really a great night that way. I would like to wish Mr. Witherspoon a happy birthday this weekend. For your Hallmark birthday. Thank you for all you've done in our community and your service. Thank you to the police. I help with dismissal at my school, and this week there was a police presence on Buffalo Road during dismissal time because sometimes people do not obey the dismissal traffic miles per hour. So just that car, no one even had to get out, but just that car being there slows down the traffic. So it was noted. Thank you, police. I'm still working on public restrooms. As far as tonight goes, I'm an emotional person that doesn't speak very well. So my heart is heavy. I'll probably cry myself to sleep. But I do have faith, and my favorite Bible passage is, "This too shall pass." And then I sort of go along with Scarlett O'Hara's, "After all, tomorrow's another day," and Little Orphan Annie, "The sun will come out tomorrow." Speaking of things, though, I witnessed or saw the Bayfront roundabout had an accident already. This weekend, I think it was, that I saw it. Someone scraped the whole, ruined like their car. But then my girlfriend yesterday or the day before, maybe it was 2 days ago, she sent me a picture of the same area, same place, and there was another accident there where a vehicle was up on the sidewalk already for the turnaround. So turnarounds, they take some time getting used to. But there is a 15-mile-an-hour speed limit. So if you're not obeying the speed limit, things happen. And I see that all the time. We need to be slower. So I am thankful for the street study, for the Safe Streets for All, and for people that are helping the community. It means a lot. Everyone, rich, poor, nationality, or whatever, I hope you have something to be thankful for each and every day and not Thanksgiving alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brzezinski?
Yeah, well, two things. The Port Authority had their formal opening of the long-term plan for the coke plant. It's over 100 acres of someday beautiful, beautiful land. But there's an awful lot of remediation that's going to take place, and in the coming weeks and months, we'll have public meetings and things like that, so everybody who wants to be involved with what's going on will be welcome to be there and hear the story as it's being formulated. It's not an easy one, that's for darn sure. The other thing, and it was so long ago that Titus spoke, you forgot to talk about my boy Gus Pine and the zoo. Friday we're going to meet down at the convention center to see if we can hammer out something. I hate to say save the zoo, but yeah, save the zoo. I guess that's what you have to say. As I'm getting ready to close, you folks that are here for the tenants' rights, I think that's very, very important. But it's also very important to understand that we just changed leadership for the code enforcement too. So this might be a real good dovetail time to make things even more better than they are right now. I understand. I was brought up on 4th and Wallace, so I've seen a lot of things too. So we'll keep fighting for you, that's for darn sure. What else was I going to say? I'll probably forget something and ask to talk again, but happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And let the Vikings keep winning too. See, I remember that.
Ms. President, I did forget something. I attended the COG meeting, and they balanced the budget, and they're moving to the Summit Township. John Bartnicki, who is the new person in charge of COG, is up at the Summit Township Municipal Building now. Thank you.
Okay.
Could you please communicate, Rob or Mayor Joe? I am needing to appoint a blighted property review committee person. If you could put that somehow on the website or what have you, and people who are interested could please just leave message to the clerk's office with their name, phone number, email, and a couple sentences on why they are interested. The Blighted Property Review Committee meets once a month on a Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock in the morning, so that they would have to be present for that to give of themselves. 9 o'clock in the morning, once a month on a Wednesday. Mr. Nelson, do you remember if it's the third Wednesday of the month? Second Wednesday of the month. Second Wednesday of the month. And it's a very, very interesting, I'm very involved with it when I can be. They blight houses or rescind that blight. So it's not just all the time blight, 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 destroy, 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 but sometimes it happens and it goes off of the blight list. But if anyone's interested in volunteering their time, it's not a paid position. Thank you.
All right, so I will go next. Just wanting to speak about the Erie Tenant Bill of Rights. I have been an advocate since I've been on council for this. So at the last agenda setting meeting I had, I did ask the solicitors to work on that and review what was given to us so that we can draft our own version. Councilmember Schaaf was there when we were told that they are not sure if it should be an ordinance or a resolution. They were going to go back and forth on figuring out what the best document that we need to put forth so that landlords will present this to the residents. Language is a big barrier, so I understand the need to have everything in one document so that we can then interpret it into many languages for the residents. So I'm definitely going to be making sure that that happens at some point. I just sent an email this morning to the solicitors, and he did confirm that he is working on it. I also wanted to address the budget was given to us on the 5th. We are going back and forth with our budget meetings. We have a budget meeting tomorrow at 5:30, the following Tuesday at 5:30. No, not the fall. No, Thanksgiving. No budget meetings Thanksgiving week, but we have a couple going into December. So council members will be at these budget meetings if their schedule allows. So our next budget meeting outside of the 21st will be on the 3rd. The meeting on the 21st is for police and planning and neighborhood resources, and the meeting on the 3rd is going to review the solicitor's office, the treasurer's office, HR, civil service, and risk. So council has been very full with our budget meetings, which is also something that the administration has been working on, so that's why things are on kind of a slow move forward, and we do apologize, but when you have certain deadlines you have to follow, those take precedence. And I also wanted to, acknowledge the fact that we had a great number of citizens come and speak in regards to their feelings and opinions. I just wanted to let it be known that I also had a lot of citizens reach out that were happy that I made the statement that I made. They reached out, they called, they did emails, they spoke to me in person. So as an elected official, you have to listen to both sides, even if you don't like what the other side has to say. So we all have feelings, we all have opinions, and I will not be resigning. The City of Erie voters elected me at large within city limits to represent them, and I will be running for re-election when the time comes, and I know that my residents will make sure that I keep my seat. So anybody who doesn't vote for me, you probably didn't vote for me to begin with, so I don't lose any stress, but I do represent you, and I make sure that the needs of everyone in my community are represented for the betterment of everyone, which is why I've been an advocate for, renters and our most vulnerable communities, such as those who have disabilities that need sidewalk access. I've been an advocate for the underrepresented, which is why I decided to run for office, because you find out that a lot of voices get muted when you have a lot of anger and loudness in the audience, which tonight was a great reflection on that. But I'm happy that the residents who come pretty often are still in the audience and who will probably still be here in the future, speaking on the needs of our community to make our city wonderful and great. So I will always speak up when I see something, you say something. And if that makes me wrong, well then wrong I'll be. But I'm gonna always stand on what I stand on, and I'm always gonna represent the greater good of everyone. Because me as a Puerto Rican woman, I have family members in every shade.
That you're an American citizen.
I am American.
I want to say that first.
But Puerto Rico is
I'm
a part of America.
of Polish descent.
Puerto Ricans are Americans. And, an Erieite, born and raised. But either way, at the end of the day, we all have our opinions, we all have our feelings, but our city of Erie knows what we're working towards, and we're going to continue to do the work here. So thank you. Does the solicitors have a report?
Nothing.
Nothing? Does the mayor and his administration have a report?
Just briefly, I want to say that 90 minutes of public comment that we got today was hard to deal with, I think, for probably many of you. I know a lot of you were attacked, as was I. But all I want to do is repeat 4 words that were said earlier by Tyler. Be kind and gentle. Thank you.
Thank you.
And happy birthday, Melvin.
Happy birthday. Happy Big 8-0. Don't party too hard.
Hey.
City Council adjourns at 8:43 p.m. Members floor.